Hello students, welcome to Diksha Online Mathematics Lecture 7. In this let us discuss permutations and combinations and probability. So there are a lot of concepts, but the basic concepts, fundamental theorem, permutation, combination, circular permutations, permutations with repetitions, NCR, NPR formulas, I'm not discussing. The main concepts I'm revising. So exponent of a prime number in n factorial. Suppose let p be a prime. I want its exponent. So exponent means in this n factorial. You know n factorial means what? 1 into 2 into up to n. In that, what will be the p power you will have? So what is the exponent of p in the value of n factorial you can get? So exponent of p in n factorial will be step of n by p plus step of n by p square plus so on until it vanishes. So this formula will give you the exponent of any prime number in n factorial. So very important principle of exclusion and inclusion. So what it says, suppose if you have two sets AB and this is mu, calculating this fourth region is principle of exclusion and inclusion. So how to get this fourth region? A bar intersection B bar, neither A nor B, which is nothing but n of mu minus n of A union B. So what you will do, n of mu minus, what is the formula for n of A union B? N of A plus n of B minus n of A intersection B. So this is n of A plus n of B, you can put in a bracket, plus n of A intersection B. So if you observe carefully, from n of mu, single sets you are excluding. So when you exclude A, 1, 2, when you exclude B, 2, 3 will be removed, but 2 is removed 2 times. So for compensation you will add again. So this way is called exclusion inclusion, exclusion inclusion. So similarly you can extend it for 3 sets. So what will be for 3 sets? N of neither A nor B nor C will be from n of mu. Single sets you exclude, 2 sets you include, 3 sets you exclude. So like that you can generalize it for n number of sets also. So this is principle of exclusion and inclusion. So dearrangements. Suppose A, B, C are 3 students sitting like that. If we ask them to arrange among themselves, you know that there will be 3 factorial permutations. There are 6 permutations. So they are nothing but ABC, ACB, BAC, BCA, CAB, CBA. Suppose if I put a condition that no student should sit in its original place. So I think this is not allowed, this is not allowed, this is not allowed, this is allowed, this is allowed, this is not allowed. These two are called dearrangements. So here dearrangements of 3 things will be how much? 2 we got. Similarly dearrangements of 4 things, 9. Dearrangement of 5 things, 6 things you can calculate. Up to 6 things it is better to remember. Dearrangement of 4 things, 5 things will be 44. Now what is the formula for dearrangements of n things? It is n factorial times 1 minus 1 by 1 factorial plus 1 by 2 factorial minus 1 by 3 factor plus so on plus minus 1 whole power n by n factorial. So by this formula you can calculate dearrangement of n number of things. So these dearrangements are useful in calculating the problems, like suppose a person is writing 6 letters to his 6 friends and he prepared 6 addressed envelopes. At random, if he keeps the letters into the envelopes, suppose all went wrong. All went wrong is nothing but derangements of 6 things. So whenever a problem is there, you have to see it properly, whether we can apply these dearrangements or not. We have to see and we have to apply. So when 6 letters are to be kept in 6 addressed envelopes, all will go wrong in these 6 ways. Means in that first letter may go in second or third or fourth or fifth or sixth. It won't go into first place. So what will be there? There will be 5 possibilities for first letter to go. So suppose if I in that 5 means it is having equal chance. That's why suppose if I say D6 is some 265. If you calculate D6, you will get by 5. 5 5 is a 25. 5 5 is a 25. So 55 cases will be there. First letter going into second, 55. First letter going to thirds, 55. Like that we have to calculate. Now distribution of dissimilar things. So how to distribute dissimilar things? Suppose if I have 10 dissimilar things with me, I want to distribute to some 3 students. How can we solve these problems? So we can take the help of number of functions concepts. So suppose what to do, the things 10 are there, no, you keep in the domain and 3 students have to distribute. So if I ask you to create the functions, so each and every element in the domain should have image, that's why every element will have image and that image will be unique. So T1 cannot take S1 S2 because thing 1 you can't give to both students, but thing 1 thing 2 can be given to same student. So can I say the number of functions will be 3 to the power of 8. So 3 to the power of 10. 3 to the power of 10. So there will be 3 power 10 ways to distribute. So if you know the number of functions, so in functions chapter you might have learned number of 1 functions. Suppose from this is called domain, this is called codomain. So number of functions will be how much? Number of functions will be cardinality of CD to the power of cardinality of D. Suppose if I want number of injections or 1 number of injections, it will be cardinality of CD, permutations cardinality of D, and I think you know that CD cardinality should be greater than D cardinality or equal. Then from total functions, if you remove, means CD to the power of D minus CD permutations D, if you do, you will get many to 1 functions. Many to 1. Then I think you know constant functions. Constant means what? All domain elements should be linked to only one element. That is nothing but cardinality of CD. So that is nothing but cardinality of CD. So what we do in functions, please try to understand. Then while doing that problem's distribution, which functions you have to calculate, you have to see. Now onto functions you can use principle of exclusion and inclusion, and you can do, and cardinality of D should be greater than or equal to cardinality of CD for onto functions. Then the onto functions, number of onto functions equal to cardinality of CD to the power of cardinality of D minus cardinality of CD C1 cardinality of CD minus 1 whole to the power of cardinality of D plus cardinality of CD C2 cardinality of CD minus 2 whole to the power of cardinality of D minus so on. principle of exclusion and inclusion. That's why the formula will be total functions minus, like that will move. And if you take this minus common, in the bracket what you will get is nothing but into functions. Now what is bijections? A function which is both injection and surjection. Surjection means onto. So can I say for bijection the condition will be cardinality of D and cardinality of CD should be equal. And if you use cardinality of CD, P cardinality of D, because both are equal, it is nothing but cardinality of CD factorial or cardinality of D factorial, because both are same. And you can use even the onto functions formula also, you will get the same. But factorial formula will be easier to calculate. Suppose if I give you CD and D equal elements, and if I ask you onto function, suppose from a set of 5 elements to a set of 5 elements, number of onto functions if I ask, say doing 5 power 5 minus 5c1 into 4 power 5 plus 5c2 into 3 power 5, like that if you do till it vanishes, it will be a lengthy expansion. But you know that when number of elements in the domain and codomain are equal, if you want onto functions, it is nothing but number of bijections. So you can do 5 factorial, which is 120 onto functions will be there. Then what do you mean by row summation, column summation, diagonal summation? If you write the binomial coefficients for n equal to 0, n equal to 1, n equal to 2, n equal to 3, like that if I write, you can go like this. Now you observe any row. Suppose you observe any row. Row sum, if you see 1 plus 2 plus 3, this is 4. 1 plus 3 plus 3 plus 1. If you observe any row summation is like this. C0 plus C1 plus C2 so on Cn is 2 power n. You know this formula. That is called row summation. Then what is column summation? Every column, if you observe carefully, a full column start with the last coefficient. Means suppose if I add these in column, if I move like this, suppose I am adding these 3. If you observe, their sum will be like this. So last column means what? It is NCN, no? Sorry, a column starts with a last coefficient means NCN. Then if you come down, it is n plus 1 C1, n plus 1 NCN. If you come down, this n will be fixed, but suffix will be same. So on n plus R C n, which will be n plus R plus 1 C n plus 1, because the result is cross like this. Means next to row means n value should increase, suffix also should increase. That is column summation. Now diagonal. Diagonal means starts with the starting element. So suppose if you, this is a diagonal 1 4 10. What is the sum? 15. So it's like this, NC0. Diagonal means down row and shift further. So both increases, n plus 1 C1, n increases, R increases, suffix also increases. So on n plus R C R, which will be n plus R plus 1 C R, because just down means only row number will increase, that last will be the suffix, the last suffix will be the suffix. So this is called diagonal summation. But if you observe carefully, column and diagonal summations, they are linked with symmetric formula, NCR equal to NCn minus R, because NCn can be written as NC0, n plus 1 Cn can be written as n plus 1 C1, like that. Even the last answer also, if you apply symmetric formula NCR equal to NCn minus R, you can get the result. So this is about row summation, column summation, diagonal summation. Groups. Very important but very simple. Suppose if you have m plus n things and you want to divide into two groups m and n, two groups, that's all. Then the formula, you can select m things, automatically n things will be separated, or you can select n things, m things will be separated. So if you simplify, it is m plus n factorial by n factorial into m factorial. Suppose after doing groups, if you want to give to two students A and B, so m group to A, n group to B, or n group to A, so there will be two factorial permutations. So when order is not important, this will be the answer. When order is important, for this m plus n factorial into m factorial into n factorial, you have to multiply 2 factorial because you have to do order. You can extend it for 3 things or any number of things. Suppose if you want to divide into equal size, when equal size is there, this 2n factorial by n factorial into n factorial, some groups will be repeated. That's why you have to do 1 by 2 factorial when order is not important. When order is important, you have to multiply this with 2 factorial. Then you will get 2n factorial by n factorial whole square when you divide two students, let us say. So where order is important. So please remember, when equal groups are there, that equal size is there, 1 by 2 factorial you have to divide. Suppose if 3n things are divided into n, so 3n factorial by n factorial whole cube into 1 by 3 factorial you should get when order is not important. So when order is important, 3n factorial by n factorial whole cube you will get. Distribution of similar things now. So you can't use functions, because functions we can use distribution of dissimilar things. So how to do distribution of similar things? So you have to introduce the equations. Suppose if I have 10 similar things with me, 10 chocolates, similar chocolates. So 10 similar. Distribute to 3 students. So S1, S2, S3. What will happen here? How many things you are giving to S1, how many you are giving to S2, how many you are giving to S3 is important here. Whereas the things are dissimilar, how many is important. At the same time, which things you are giving to S1 is also important. So when they are similar, simply we will say this fellow is getting x1 things, x2 things, x3 things. You have to equate to 10. Then you have to calculate the number of non-negative integral solutions. So number of non-negative integral solutions for this will be, so how to do, there are 3 boxes, no? 3 boxes, 10 things. So 10 plus, reduce the number of boxes by 1, 2, see any one of these you can do. What is the logic behind this? See 3 boxes, no? So these 10 things are there, no? Assume T like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now divide them into 3 groups. So when you want to divide into 3 groups, 2 sticks you can insert. So 2 sticks if I insert like this example. So they divide into 3 groups. So that's why this 10 T's and the sticks are 2. Permutations of those will be 10 plus 2 C2. This will be the answer. So how to remember? Very simply, this is number of things or number of balls you take. This is number of boxes. So if you want to divide into 3 boxes, 2 sticks are enough. So 10 plus 2 C, either you can write 10 or 2, no problem. So that is distribution of similar things. And you know that if you want conditions, you can use multinomial theorem also for this. So for this equation, number of solutions, if you want, you have to do coefficient of x power 10 into, you have to create the polynomials for x1, x power 0, x power 1 plus so on. For x2 also same, for x3 also same, so whole cube you can do. So coefficient of x power 10 in this x power 0 is nothing but 1 minus x whole power minus 1, that is minus 3. So 10 plus, actually you want x power 10 coefficient C10, so 2 plus n minus 1 C R. This will be, you can see in binomial theorem, infinite expansions. 1 minus x whole to the power of minus n, coefficient of x power r will be, first you have to write CR, then what you have to write, r plus n minus 1, r plus n minus 1, that is 2 plus 10 plus 3 minus 1, here 3 minus 1, n is 3 no here, so 12C10, which is nothing but 12C2. You can use multinomial or this concept. Number of factors and sum of factors. So suppose any number n which is not equal to 1, if you split into primes, p1 power k1, p2 power k2, so on, pn power kn, let us say. The number of factors will be k1 plus 1 into k2 plus 1 into so on, kn plus 1. So it is nothing but the number of ways of selecting any number from the given number of things. Suppose there are k1 similar things, p1, no? So k1 similar things are there, which are p1. So how many ways you can select them? K1 plus 1 ways you can select them. Like that, because k2, p2s are there, kn, pns are there. The total number of ways of selecting is k1 plus 1, k2 plus 1, so on, kn plus 1. Now what will be sum of the factors? Sum of the factors will be, because you have to create the chances, means from that group p1 power 0, p1 power 1 plus so on, p1 power k1 all can come into p2 power 0, p2 power 1, so on, p2 power k2, so on, last bracket. So each will be a GP, you have to write the sum of GP formula. So here generally which prime we start any factorization? 2 power, 3 power, 5 power, like that. So you may be asked, what is even factors? How many even factors are there? What is their sum? So how to do? Because it's very simple. You know that 2 is the only even prime you have. So if you want even prime, 2 should be selected. So the 2 power 0 chance won't be there. Means 0 2's coming chance won't be there. So according to the given question, you have to see that which prime you have to include in the selection, or which prime you have to call for the party. So you can see this, you can treat as an invitation to the parties. So similar things are there, how to invite them into the party. So according to required question, which thing should be invited, or which prime number should not be invited, you have to decide. According to that, you have to solve the problem. Geometrical applications. So what is the geometrical applications? So you know that to get a straight line we need 2 points. Suppose if points are there, no 3 are collinear. So can I say for every selection of 2 points you will get NC2 number of lines will be there. Suppose in a plane lines are there, right? N lines are there. No 2 are parallel, no 3 are concurrent. So how many points of intersections will be there? How many points will be there? NC2, because to get a point of intersection we need to select 2 straight lines. Similarly, number of triangles. Suppose no 3 are collinear. So can I say NC3 triangles will be formed. So for every selection of triangle there will be a circumcircle. So like that you can calculate number of triangles, number of lines using NCR formula. Now suppose if I ask you number of diagonals. Suppose there are n points, no two are collinear, then can I say NC2 lines are possible? In that NC2 lines, n lines will represent the sides of the quadrilateral. Then if you subtract from NC2 this n, you will get number of diagonals, which if you simplify, you will get n into n minus 3 by 2. So that is the way how to calculate the number of diagonals. Okay, now let us discuss what do you mean by probability function. So you know that let small p is a real valued function from power set of sample space to real numbers if they satisfy some axioms. That function is called probability function. What is the first axiom? Let E be any event, then its probability. Probability means here image should be greater than or equal to 0. Let S is a sample space, its probability is always 1. So this is called axiom of non-negativity. This is called axiom of certainty. And axiom 3 is very, very important. Suppose there are two events E1 and E2 which are mutually exclusive. Then probability of E1 union E2 will be equal to probability of E1 plus probability of E2. That is probability function. So based on this, we will develop some theorems like P of I equal to 1, P of E plus P of E bar equal to 1. If E1 is subset of E2, P of E2 minus E1 equal to P of E2 minus P of E1, like that. In all those theorems, the important addition theorem on probability. So what is addition theorem on probability? Let E1 comma E2 are two events of, events means I can write like this, subsets of S. Then probability of E1 union E2 equal to probability of E1 plus probability of E2 minus probability of E1 intersection E2. The same thing you can extend it for three sets also. E1 union E2 union E3 equal to P of E1 plus P of E2 minus P of plus P of E3 minus two sets, E1 intersection E2 minus P of E2 intersection E3 minus P of E1 intersection E3 plus P of E1 intersection E2 intersection E3. So this is addition theorem on probability. What do you mean by independent and dependent events? Suppose E1 and E2 are two events. E1 is happening first. Let us say next E2 is happening. Suppose if the probability of occurrence of E2 depends on the occurrence happening of not happening of E1, then such events are called dependent events. If it is not dependent on the occurrence and non-occurrence of E1, they are called independent events. So for example, I am drawing a card from a pack of cards. Let E1 be the event that is king. I am not taking that card back. So from the remaining 51 cards, I am taking one more card from 51 cards. Let E2 be the event that is king. Then what is the problem? The second card is a king. So this question is incomplete unless you know what happened in first event, because we just asked the probability that what is the first card is event. You will say that 4 by 52. First card is king. But there is no guarantee you will get king. No. So what is the problem? Second card is king. If I stop here, I can't answer. That's why what is the probability second card is king if first card was a king? So I can say 3 by 51. What is the probability second card is a king that first card was not a king? 4 by 51 will be the answer. So that they are called dependent events. Suppose if I don't keep the card, if I take it back, means if I do the experiment with replacement, then P of E1 is also 4 by 52, P of E2 is also 4 by 52. In that case, E1 and E2 we will say independent events. Independent events. Conditional probability. Just suppose this is E1 unconditional, E2 that E1 happened. So this is probability of E1. This is probability of E2 given that E1 happened. See, there are several terminologies for this. Probability of E2 in E1. Suppose if I put a diagram E1 and E2. In E1, what is the probability of happening E2? So this is the portion is favorable. So can I say n of E1 intersection E2 out of n of E1 means this condition will become the sample space. Now in this new sample space you will see the favorable cases of E2. So if you divide with P that n of S, that n of E1 intersection E2 will become P of. So these are the formulas for conditional probabilities. So if you cross multiply whatever we got in conditional, then you will get P of E1 intersection E2 equal to P of E1 into P of E2 in E1. So this is called multiplication theorem for dependent events. Suppose if the events are independent, you know that then simply P of E1 into P of E2 will be there, because E2 given E1 does not affect E2. That's why P of E2 given E1 will become P of E2. So this is called multiplication theorem for independent events, and you can extend it for any number of events. Bayes theorem. So in Bayes theorem what we do, it is really speaking an extension of conditional probability. Suppose E1 E2, let me explain conditional probability again here. So I am asking what is the probability of E2 in E1. So what is the condition? E1 is the condition. So in E1 there are two mutually exclusive parts. So what are those parts? I can say P of E1 minus E2 is one part, P of E1 intersection E2 is one part. So the denominator is called a total probability. In that I want favorability for E2. So which part of this denominator will go to the numerator, you have to decide. So really speaking, it is conditional probability where the condition will be splitted into as many as possible parts. So you can extend Bayes theorem for any number of sets. So if you remember, the sample space is divided into A1, A2, so on, n parts. I can say partition. Partition means their union will be S, no two are, means every two are mutually exclusive. No two have common ratio. So every two, if you take any two, if you take, they are mutually exclusive. Now let B be a set intersecting all. Then if I ask what is the probability of B with some AI. So in some AI, what is the probability of B? Here, suppose if I ask that question in reverse way, means B happened. What is the probability that AI happened? So previously I asked what is the probability of AI in B. Now I'm asking in B what is the probability of AI. Write it in that division symbol. So you know that in denominator you should get a P of B according to conditional probability, but that B, if you observe, you can split it into P of A1 intersection B, so on, P of AN intersection B. In that I want some AI intersection B to the numerator. So the denominator, this is there, no, that is called P of B. The denominator whole sum is called P of B. The P of B is called total probability. It is called total probability. So can I say it is nothing but P of A some J into P of B given AJ. See, now you got, this was my question actually, P of B given AJ. summation of this where j equal to 1 to n. In that our requirement will be p of a into p of b given a will go to the numerator. So this is Bayes theorem. See, no need to by heart the formula. Please try to understand. You know tree diagrams. So you can write the tree diagram. What are the possible cases? So create the question, symbol for that question. See the condition. You split the condition into as many as possible parts. In that parts only favorable cases go to the numerator. That's all. That is about Bayes theorem. Random variable and its range. So if capital X is a function from sample space to real numbers, it is called random variable. So a function will have a range, that is called range of the random variable. So a range can be a countable set or uncountable set. Here countable set can be a finite set or infinite set. Because countable set means there should be a bijection from the set to natural numbers. So I can say that integers is also a countable set. Rational numbers is also a countable set. But real numbers is not a countable set because from real numbers you can't create a bijection to the natural numbers. So remember that range of the random variable, there are two possibilities. One is countable, uncountable. If it is countable, such variables are called discrete variables. Otherwise, uncountable, they are called continuous variables. Continuous. Indiscrete. See, countable means you have two chances, One is finite countable, infinite countable. So there is one example for finite, which is binomial distribution, for infinite Poisson distribution, for continuous normal distribution. Lot of distributions will be there. Now you don't have these in the syllabus now. In your future, you will have normal distribution, continuous random variables also. So if a random variable range is countable, that random variable is called discrete random variable, and such distributions are called discrete probability distributions. So our syllabus is discrete random variable and discrete probability distribution. Then what do you mean by that probability distribution? I said that there is a random variable which can take suppose some small x, and that can take x1, x2, so on, xn, and probability of x equal to x will be corresponding probabilities. Assume p1, p2, so on, pn. So this table is called PD, probability distribution table. Actually, table word is no need also. So it is probability distribution. Why distribution? Suppose if you see the sum of all the probabilities, it should be 1. So the total probability 1 is distributed among the range of the random variable values. That is probability distribution. For the distribution, we calculate three things. That is mean, variance, standard deviation. These are the symbols. So we call mean. Mean means expected value of the random variable, variance of the random variable, standard deviation of the random variable. So what is the formula for mean? Mean of x will be sigma xi pi. So suppose if I ask mean of kx, so sigma kxi into pi, that is the formula. Suppose if I want mean of x square, it should be sigma x square into pi. So that is the meaning of mean. So what is variance? Variance means from each random variable value, remove the mean, square it corresponding probabilities. I equal to 1 to n. So if we expand this, so it will be xi square into pi minus mu square. So it is nothing but e of x square minus e of x whole square. Means in this formula, mean is only subtracted at last, mean square. So this is called a shortcut formula to calculate variance, and this is the original formula for variance. And standard deviation is nothing but simply positive square root of variance. So if you see the problem, first you have to do what? You have to recognize capital X from that. Then with your common sense, you have to write its range. What are the possible values it can take? That random variable can take what values. Then corresponding probabilities, means each will become a problem of probability. You have to calculate corresponding probabilities. P of x equal to 0, P of x equal to 1, like that corresponding probabilities for all range values you have to calculate. Then you can construct a probability distribution table or simply probability distribution. If you have it with you probability distribution, you can calculate mean, variance, standard deviation very easily by learning the formulas. So I told you that our syllabus has finite discrete variable, infinite discrete variable. So finite is nothing but binomial distribution. So what will I have in binomial distribution? Probability of x equal to r will be NCR q to the power of n minus r p to the power of r. So what is this n? What is this p? What is this? So let us see. Suppose there are n Bernoulli trials. See, Bernoulli trials means independent trials. Each trial will have only two events called success and failure. Probability of success is p, probability of failure is q, then always p plus q equal to 1. So such trials in which each trial will have only two events and probability of success is fixed as p for all trials. Such trials are called independent trials. They are also called Bernoulli trials. So after doing n trials, I want a distribution for number of successes. So our capital X is number of successes. Then what is the range? 0 success, 1 success, so on, because you did n trials, maximum number of success will be n. Then corresponding probabilities will be calculated like this. So that is a general term of binomial distribution. And if you observe, summation of the probabilities will be equal to q plus p whole power n, which is equal to 1. So q plus p whole power n terms, if you expand q plus p whole power n, the terms will tell you the corresponding probabilities. So binomial distribution is nothing but q plus p whole power n given by Bernoulli. So it is also called Bernoulli distribution, and it is same as the binomial expansion. That's why it is also called binomial distribution. For this binomial distribution, the mean formula is NP. So simply number of trials into probability of success in each trial, and the variance is NPQ, and standard deviation is root over NPQ. And always remember, N and P are called binomial parameters, because those who know N and P, they have everything about binomial distribution in their hands. So this is about binomial distribution. Then I said when n is very, very large, so Poisson distribution. So when n is very, very large, as I said, when n is very, very large and p is very, very small, so what I will take, np I will take as some lambda, then p will be lambda by n. When n is tends to infinity, p tends to 0. Then please remember, binomial distribution tends to Poisson distribution. Actually, n tends to infinity means in statistics very, very large. In general, n is greater than 20. Then p is small, means less than 0.01. Then binomial distribution will tend to Poisson distribution. So what is the formula for p of capital X equals to R in Poisson distribution. The formula is e to the power of minus lambda, lambda to the power of R by R factorial. So when P is very, very small, that is P tends to 0, Q tends to 1. That's why the mean of the Poisson distribution is lambda. And the important thing is variance is also lambda, because NPQ, no, as Q tends to 1, NPQ tends to NP, so variance is lambda. Standard deviation is root over lambda. So these are the mean, variance and standard deviation of Poisson distribution, and this is the formula to calculate the corresponding probabilities. Please remember the formula e to the power of minus lambda, lambda power R by R factorial. This e to the power of lambda, e power x expansion, everybody know, no? 1 plus x by 1 factorial plus x square by 2 factorial plus so on. Okay. So the main things I discussed, we will see some problems in the problem session. Thank you.